Hey guys, it's Mrs. Invest. In this video, I have the updated, new and improved step-by-step tutorial on how to do Norbert's Gambit online using the CIBC Investors Edge platform. And this updated method is really quick, it's super easy, and it is the best way to get from point A to point B, just like Michael Phelps. Seriously, how is this body position even possible for human beings? But anyways, if you are familiar with doing currency conversion online from CAD to USD or vice versa from USD to CAD, what most people do is they just go online, and in the case of CIBC Investors Edge, you'll see this foreign exchange request tab, and you can convert funds that way. It's fairly easy to do. The only issue is the bank generally will have a 2 to 3% fee baked into the conversion rate, and you don't explicitly see this fee when you convert your funds. And so if you are converting thousands of dollars, these fees definitely add up over time. And with this new and improved method for Norbert's Gambit, it's never actually been easier to do Norbert's Gambit. And this will literally save you thousands of dollars over your lifetime investing, especially if you do a lot of transferring into US dollars. So if you're wondering what is Norbert's Gambit, essentially it's just a way to convert Canadian dollars to US dollars cheaply and easily, and it uses an ETF called DLR to accomplish this. So the thing to know about DLR is it's an ETF. It trades on the stock market just like any other ETF, but you wouldn't buy it as an investment and hold it like you would with other ETFs. The whole purpose of DLR existing is simply to assist with currency conversion. There's literally no other point to it. And there are two DLRs. There's a Canadian one and a US one. And the difference in price between the Canadian one and the US one is the exact conversion rate at that particular day, at that particular time. So for example, here you can see that DLR on the Canadian side in Canadian dollars is $13.78, and the DLR at the very same moment in time in US dollars on the US dollar side is $10.13. And if you divide those two together, you get 1.36, which is the current difference between the Canadian and US dollar, or the currency conversion rate, which is actually quite sad for us Canadians how weak our Canadian dollar is getting, but that's besides the point in this video. Okay, so let's get into the step-by-step tutorial on how to actually do Norbert's Gambit and convert your currency online. A prerequisite step to doing Norbert's Gambit, which I'm calling step 0 because it's not actually part of Norbert's Gambit, but without this step, you can't actually do Norbert's Gambit. So step 0 is you need to have in your investment account, whichever account you want to do Norbert's Gambit in. You have three options. You have your TFSA, you have your RRSP, and you have your non-registered or taxable investment account. Whichever account you want to do it in, for the sake of this video, let's just say you're doing Norbert's Gambit in your TFSA. You need to have at CIBC Investors Edge both a CAD and a USD side within that account. So if it's your TFSA, it's going to look like this. If it's your RSP, it's going to look like this. And if it's your non-registered or investment account, it's going to look like this. And you need to have both of those sides open. Most of the time, when you first open this account, you're only going to have a CAD side. So it's an extra step to have a USD side open. You have to contact CIBC Investors Edge and sign some forms for that USD side to actually be open. Okay, step 1 is to complete a cash transfer. Now, this assumes that you don't already have Canadian dollars in the CAD side of your TFSA. If you do, then you don't need to do this step, but I'm assuming you have no cash in Canadian dollars and you first need to get cash into the account. And so the way that you do that is when you log into your Investors Edge online, on the top right, you'll see one of the headers says cash transfers. So you click on that, and then it takes you to a page where you're going to select from account to account. So it's really easy if you already do your banking with CIBC. You can just select from account would be your checking account, and then to account you would click your TFSA CAD or your RSP CAD, but you would always be transferring it to the Canadian side because it's coming from a Canadian source, typically your Canadian checking account. And the next step is you're going to buy DLR on the Toronto Stock Exchange in the CAD side of the account that you're working in. Again, we're assuming the TFSA here, but it could be any of the 3 accounts. So what you're going to do is when you log in to the Investors Edge platform, on the top header, you're going to see a trading tab. You're going to click on that. Under account, you'll pick the account that whichever one you're working in of the 3. Your action will be buy. The symbol will be DLR, and make sure you click on the Canadian market for that, just to be sure you have the right one. It's always somewhere in the $13 range. In contrast, the US one is in the $10 range. So this is kind of helps you double check you have the right one. Now for quantity, let's assume in this example you want to transfer 10,000 Canadian dollars. 10,000 Canadian dollars divided by $13.78 per share gives you approximately 725 shares of DLR that you can buy. Just keep in mind that you don't cut it too close in your account because you still need to leave a little bit of money, $6.95, for the commission fee to pay for this trade. And for the order price, you can either do a limit or a market order. It doesn't really matter. And then you're going to pay from the Canadian side of whatever account you're in. So now you own shares of DLR on the Canadian side of your account. Now the next step, step 3, is to journal those shares over to the US side of the same account. Now you may say, Mrs. Invest, what does journal mean? This is such a common question, and I think it's something that's sort of antique, back in the day when all this stuff was done on paper. But literally, the journal just means transfer or move. So if you're moving shares between different accounts from the CAD side to the USD side, just moving them around from wherever they are, that's called journaling the shares. And so we call it journaling the shares at this step because you are moving them from the CAD side over to the USD side. So just think of the word transfer if journal confuses you. Now this is where sort of the new and updated and improved way to do Norbert's Gambit comes from, because you used to have to call in and sit on the phones to CIBC Investors Edge to get a human being on the phone to transfer your shares from the CAD to the USD side. And if you've ever sat on the phone with CIBC Investors Edge, you know how long you have to wait on hold to get somebody. It was the part of the step of Norbert's Gambit that made it almost not worth it if you had to sit on the phone for an hour. But now you can actually journal the shares yourself online. So the way that you do that is, again, when you log in online, on the top header, you'll see more. And then if you drop down there, you'll see preferences. Click on that. And then it takes you to a page here, and you see on the right here, account transactions, and click transfer securities. And then what it's going to do is take you to another page where you are going to go from your source account to your destination account. So for example, the source account would be your TFSA CAD and the destination account would be your TFSA USD. And then you're going to type in the symbol of DLR that you bought on the Canadian market. I just wrote in the description of what the name is of DLR in words and the number of shares, and then you click submit and just wait for those to be journaled over to your USD side. Okay, and the last step of Norbert's Gambit, once those shares have been journaled over and you see them in your USD side, they're no longer visible in your CAD side. That means they've been journaled over. Now what you have to do is sell DLR into US dollars, sell those shares that are currently in your USD side, and then you'll have US dollars. So the way you do this is just like performing any other trade. You go under the trading tab, you're going to click on your TFSA account. It will be your USD side this time, and you're going to sell the shares. Now under security tab, if you click the drop down there where it says choose one, it should show up as DLR. But if it doesn't, you can click on can't find security and then type it in that way. And sometimes it shows up like that. I find if you're trying to get the shares quickly, like after you've journaled them over and you want to see if they're there like fairly quickly, I find I can tend to find them under the can't find security tab. But if it's like been a couple days, then they're usually just under the drop down there where it says choose one. And then quantity wise, you're going to have the same number of shares that you purchased originally, and you just put your order through how you normally would, limit market, doesn't matter. And once you submit that and it actually goes through, then you will have US dollars in the USD side of your account. Now, that's all there is to Norbert's Gambit. It might seem through this video that, it's a long, laborious process, but now that you can do it all online yourself, it's just a matter of clicking a couple buttons online and, once you've done it once or twice, you get pretty good at it. It takes me about 5 minutes. And so I guess the last thing to think about is, what's the benefit of this compared to just doing the foreign exchange request that I showed at the beginning of the video? Well, the benefit becomes increasing with the larger dollar amount that you convert and the more money over your lifetime that you want to convert to US dollars. So the total cost of Norbert's Gambit is just the buying of DLR, which is one commission, plus the selling of DLR, which is another commission. So at CIBC Investors Edge, the commission is almost $7. So the total cost, whether you are transferring $10 Canadian to US or $1 million Canadian to US, is going to be $14 flat rate. If you're doing the foreign exchange request at the bank, it's going to be 2% of whatever amount you want to transfer. So the larger amount that you want to transfer, the higher the fee. So in our example of $10,000, you would have paid approximately $200, like best case scenario, because it's usually minimum 2% fee, just to perform this currency conversion. So if you're someone who transfers CAD to USD fairly often or in large quantities, Norbert's Gambit, I would say, is a must know, because now that you can do it online, it's easy and it saves a lot of money in the long run. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment down below if you have any questions and I will try to get back to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.